Hey, welcome to the channel. Every Wednesday at Drip to Wealth, we host Twitter Spaces, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, with a special guest. This past week, we had Rock Ape, a critical member of the Drip Marketing DAO. Now, again, if you're unfamiliar with the Drip Marketing DAO, you've got to listen to the Twitter Spaces. Rock does an exceptional job of, one, introducing himself to the community, and then two, helping you understand what the DAO is, how it impacts you, and then more importantly, how you can get involved. We also had a bunch of people kind of chime in, like Drip Coach, who's also a member of the DAO, Scott the Investor, and then we've got Crypto Craft, made up of 3 members. We've got J.O., Gaz, and Nasty Canasta. Every Wednesday, Twitter Spaces, live. Lock it in. Come join us. Enjoy.
Yeah.
So look, man, this is like perfect timing, right? There's tons of momentum around Drip, right? So we've got this most recent announcement. We've got Triple D that's still in development, which will probably be out relatively soon. And then you guys are really jumping on the branding. Like, I watched a video earlier of Moonshot Max. He did an awesome job. I believe you saw it. Yeah, and if anybody hasn't saw his video yet, you should watch it. I mean, he does an exceptional job of breaking down the marketing DAO, like what their strategy is, their vision, who's involved, and the benefits to the Drip ecosystem. It's phenomenal. So make sure you guys check that out.
Honestly, there's been a few. Legacy 7, shout out to him. He did one. I know Scott just did. Coach just did. And then obviously the AMA that I think lit everybody on fire yesterday on Driptopians.
Man, that's good. And I saw the live that they did too, man. That was also really good. So Coach was there and Scott was there, and you were doing your normal firing off with your comments. So there's a ton of momentum behind it. So the timing is perfect. So Rock, let's do this because I want to get into it. But here's what I'm realizing, because I was listening to the AMA yesterday with Driptopian, you, Coach, and Scott, and then a little bit of Ray's Drip update earlier this afternoon, as much as I could get. And there was kind of like a comment about the Drip Marketing DAO, right? And he made mention that, hey, not really sanctioned, not a part of it. And it's really important that if it doesn't necessarily come from us, that you guys do your own research. And all of that is perfect guidance, but I'm just setting the table for what my question is going to be. A lot of that stuff is driven by trust, right? Because we're in cryptocurrency, more specifically DeFi, and it is a high risk space, right? Because you're dealing with people, you don't know what they look like on the other side. You don't know what their intentions are. And let's be honest, a lot of us, if not 1,000% of us, have lost money, right? So there's a huge trust factor when you're asking people to participate in whatever your initiative is, right? So
And
that kind of leads me to this. Yep. See, so I know you got an answer. So I want to lead you down a path. So here's what I'm asking. Let's start with people understanding kind of who Rock is, as information as you can share. Let's figure out who Rock is, right? Because trust is really built on time and forming a relationship with someone. And part of that is, kind of getting to know a person. So can you spend a few minutes like introducing yourself to Drip and the ecosystem, anybody who's going to be listening on the call?
Yeah, completely fair. I have started a YouTube channel purely because of you guys actually encouraging it. Some of you know that I build waterfalls for a living, and some of them have actually seen the caves and the rocks that I hence the name. Actually, the whole reason for Rock Ape is because we had a trailer, and the branding on it when you open the door would change the name from our company name to Rock Ape. So everybody would call us Rock Apes, especially when we were building habitats at the zoos. Everybody thought this was like a fantastic joke. And honestly, I just leaned into it. I've been this type of avatar name for about 20 years now.
Got it.
For me, crypto started with on my honeymoon was the first time I ever actually had time. My wife was sick with our unborn child, giving morning sickness. So I actually had some more time on our honeymoon than we were expecting. And so I started looking into crypto a fair amount, started reading books. Fantastic book was Bitcoin Money You Can't Fuck With. And all of a sudden I was like, completely hooked on the idea. I've known that there's an issue, but I didn't know that there was an answer already built in. And then I went down this rabbit hole. I bought some meme coins and some blue chips, thought I was a genius because I made some money. Did not realize that I was at the very end of a bull run and then lost pretty much everything I gained. But in that time, I got to learn a little bit. When I get into something, I obsess over something, much to the grief of my wife. Is all I do is read, think, and watch once I've gotten an idea in my head.
Love it.
And so when I went down the rabbit hole of crypto, most people take some time before they get to the next step, right? Or some who get into crypto never move beyond like day trading or holding. I went straight to NFTs. I went straight to and then I went into and I went hard into NFTs. And then I unfortunately found out that any NFT that was using it as a raise for a product, the SEC decided it was a security. So anytime there was like a physical thing being built, all of a sudden every NFT that I got involved with was deemed a security as soon as they finished their launches. And everything that I ever invested in is like a year in court now. So, but I knew that I needed to go for an NFT with utility. I just didn't understand that that was pretty much the basis of DeFi. So when I kept doing more and more research, that's when I found DeFi. And unfortunately, I found a couple other projects first. I found Thor nodes. Actually, you know what? I found strong nodes, but thankfully they were so far out of my budget that no, can't spend 10K on a node. And then what did they just cut everything. So I was like, okay, that's scary. I missed Ring, thankfully, but found Thor. And I loved the fact that they had weekly AMAs to keep everybody informed. That was huge for me. Because DeFi, one of the scary parts about DeFi is all the rugs that were happening on like a minute by minute schedule, right? Like everything that came up within a week of seeing it on TikTok or YouTube, it was already rugged.
Yes.
So I was getting a little bit nervous. And then I heard about Drip on the infamous one where he talked about Drip going from 3,000 to 5,000 based on market cap. And so I was like, oh, Jesus, what the heck is this? But then that same guy talked about the referral codes and the building the Drip team. And I did not, unfortunately, registered with me and I ran away. Like for at least, that was beginning of January, I think. And for a month, I watched videos wondering why it kept coming up. And then finally, JC Crypto from Cryptozoa laid the team out in such a fantastic way that I all of a sudden realized it wasn't a bad thing. It's how it made it a community project.
Yeah.
And then I happened to listen to an AMA from Forex where I've always thought the weak point of DeFi is at the very top, whereas if the developer goes away or decides to run away, then what do you have? Even if it was a fantastic project. And then he said something that blew me away. He said, if I ever get hit by a bus today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. The project's complete and it was built for the community. So you guys can take it away even if I, pass away. Nobody will ever know. It will just keep going because it's immutable. And as soon as I figured out what immutable actually meant, and then I realized that I started to look at some of the giant teams, and I listened to something else about Cryptozoa and found out like how giant of a team they had, practically their own little ecosystem. And it kind of blew me away. And I realized that even if every person in Drip today left, somebody could realize what an incredible platform it was and bring their own user base. So say a giant YouTuber that wanted to reward their people outside of Patreon. This was the vision I had. I was like, instead of Patreon, why wouldn't a YouTuber, with 1 million users say, hey, instead of just giving me money for nothing, why don't you come and create a team and we'll create an entire ecosystem that can reward all of my followers. And as soon as that kind of clicked for me, I thought this is a protocol that has unlimited potential, no matter what the current price action is, because all it takes is somebody, I didn't put it together, but at the time, all I thought was somebody just needs to get the word out to their particular audience. Now, obviously, that is what marketing is. And thankfully, over the last month, I've started to figure out how to incorporate my own obsessive thinking into the ecosystem itself, which is why some of the random ideas that have been coming out, I've actually shared.
See, and that's good, Rock, because I bet you most people on the call right now have interacted with you either on your YouTube channel or on Twitter, which you're very active, and then they know that you're part of the Guardians of the Reservoir and all these other amazing things within our ecosystem. But there's probably bits and pieces about your professional life that they had no clue that you're self-employed. You've been in business for plus 15 years. You've got a creative mind and a passion for marketing. And all of those things are necessary data points for people to get to know Rock. Because again, it's all about building trust within the community. And that's why when you refer to what would I call them, like the pillars within our ecosystem, like the Rays and the Stunners, like they know those guys because they've been around for months, been here through the peaks and valleys of Drip, and they continue to support it. And then they see new faces like you and Drip Coach and Scott and LD, and the list just kind of goes on. They're just asking themselves, why should I trust these people? So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to provide your background so people get to know you. And then obviously for all the listeners,
Completely
we're
fair.
going to dig deep. We're going to dig deep. So this is an opportunity for you guys on Twitter Spaces. This is why we do it every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, is to go live, right? So if you got a question and I recognize who you are, I'm going to invite you to speak and you can talk to Rocket directly. All right. So
Here's one thing that I believe is super important. It's but verify. And
hey,
there's an incredible part about blockchain is that you actually can. So one of the first things that was up was the fact that it needed to be a multi-sig, right? Like
yeah,
I've watched Coach and Scott for probably, it feels like at least a year now, practically since I got in, and they've become trusted voices within the community. But they still had to take a leap. I don't believe they've actually met each other. I'm sure they've been on a million different calls and chats and seen each other's videos. And then mine would be a relatively new face. So there's a lot you want to trust. There has to be some way and some safeguard. But if something ever happened, that we can continue, and people's like this is something that's so important to the community that we know, and some community members are figuring that out, is that we wanted to make sure that if something ever happened or if somebody ever ran away, we still had a way to move forward, and somebody couldn't just take those funds and run away. Like I know that happened to my brother and one of his girlfriends at one point. They had a joint account and somebody just ran away.
yes,
So with a multi, that can't ever happen. And that's kind of the whole point. And that's why you hear Coach so much talking about the fact that please just build a garden underneath, even though it's a little bit slower to accumulate the rewards that we need to get the marketing funded. It's still the safest possible way where you don't even need to trust us. You just got to, you're betting on the fact that we know what we're talking about and that we're actually going to perform an action. But there is loss. You don't, for the garden, it's not, you don't have a 10% tax that's taken off of your top end and you hope that you have a good team leader. It's just added on to ours as part of the reward, right? So it is
yeah,
one of the most trustworthy parts. And then the fact that you have tools like Dune Analytics, where you can straight up look exactly what we have, exactly how many plants, you're going to see exactly how many LPs have been taken. So
yep,
even if we're so damn busy that we can't actually show you the stats, it's like one of the most used tools for Drip that you can go on, search our address. It's on every single one of our videos, every single one of our Twitter tags now. I've never shelled so much in my life.
Neither have I, and I love all of our projects, man. But I've been so aggressive with the marketing DAO specifically because I've said it last week, and you guys need to pay attention to these things. We've got great people that come on every Wednesday. Like that is one of the major components that leads to the overall success of a cryptocurrency, and that includes marketing, man. And if you don't have a way to generate brand awareness for people to get access to this amazing ecosystem, then we're missing the mark, right? And everyone wants their bag to grow, and the only way, honestly speaking, that it's going to grow, it's not through just simply through the existing community. We've got to expand our base, which means fresh capital has got to come into the ecosystem and in droves, and that's through marketing, right? So let's do this, Rock. So let's not assume that everyone's on the call understands what the marketing DAO is, because I see some new faces on this week. So if this is your first time on the call, welcome. For everyone else that comes back religiously every week, thank you. So Rock, let's do this. Let's start at the top. Can we explain to people what the marketing DAO is, and go through your mission and maybe talk about maybe a couple of strategies, and then we can peel the onion apart?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, shout out to Todd Knox because he was the one that actually encouraged me to tell the idea. So about a month and a half ago is when it clicked to me for the marketing, where I started to think that the DeFi project is similar to small business, that there isn't a sales problem, there's a marketing problem, right? Like that's the kind of the world that we live by. If enough people know about you, then you'll constantly have an ever-changing customer base that it doesn't matter if one person runs out of capital or something, you constantly need new money coming in. And the only way you can do that is awareness. And when we started hearing so many complaints from Forex himself about how poorly the marketing teams were doing, and it clicked for me that not only are our community just tiny, we're really tight knit, but we're tiny on the scale. So I think I was chatting back and forth with him one night, and he's like, "You got to tell somebody." I was like, "No, I'm not gonna tell anybody. I'm gonna try and do an experiment myself and fund it. I just got to wait for capital." And then my furnace broke down, and that capital went away. And then on Twitter Space, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? We started talking about it with Coach, and he took that, and literally instantly, you're going to find out more and more that he is extremely, extremely organized, and he is a go-getter. Like the moment that he's got something, he runs with it, and then knows how to organize it better than you did yourself.
I never would have guessed that at all. Never.
And
Never.
then, like, it just Devin have to be the two most organized human beings I've ever seen. And
I love it.
And so he brought a couple of us together to just start chatting about the fundamentals, and has actually brought on every single member of the team, which includes Crypto Craft, who you've seen. I know you guys have seen all their artwork because it's been on our own. They've done a fantastic job on every single part of it, and those guys are perfectionists. Coach, myself, Scott, we're like, "Oh, that's beautiful," and they go, "No, this isn't for use. Like this is just so you understand what we're working on." Like they are deep in the weeds of making sure everything looks incredible. And then of course, everybody knows Scott and how the kind of analytical mind that he has. He seems to be able to look at something for half the time that it would take me to open a car door and understand exactly what needs to happen, which is an incredible member. And he does this. So I'm in my own small business, and that's what I focused on. And I realized that awareness is more important than anything. And I've gone into, even though I took marketing as my major for college, it was never, for small business, it didn't make sense because everything we learned was big budgets and massive banners and signs and business to business marketing, and barely any of it ever translated. And then I listened to a YouTuber on Think Media explain that he was making more than my entire company, and it was just him sitting in front of a camera. And I realized that there's a flaw in my business plan. And that's when I started going down rabbit holes of ClickFunnels and online marketing. And so I took up Facebook, and there's an incredible book every single person should read. It's 1 million followers in 30 days. And that book actually blew my mind on how cheap it is for Asian markets in order to get eyes on you. And North Americans have this crazy entitlement to them where they won't even click on a video, they won't like a video unless they already see thousands of real people. So you can't buy clicks, you can't buy followers, you have to get real people that engage. And then he goes in and explains that people in Brazil, incredible engagers, people in India, incredible engagers, people in the Philippines and Indonesia are like some of the most tight-knit groups that all love to share and build inner communities, whereas North Americans have kind of gone away from that. And it costs an outrageous amount to get in front of North Americans because they're the biggest consumers, right? And
so there's tons of competition, and then the analytics tell you, that it's not a good spend.
To get a local person to come and follow me, it was costing me like $2 or $3, and in the exact same ad to India or Brazil would cost less than 2 cents. The person close to me, who the family and friends, are much less likely to share and like and comment compared to these strangers. I was starting to get hundreds of direct messages telling me what beautiful work I was doing. My ego was getting too big. I had to take a break.
Get out of here. Okay, Rock. I'm loving it. And this is all because of the new marketing tactic, some of which you're planning on trying with the Drip Marketing DAO.
Yes. Now,
Uh-huh.
thankfully, it gets to be more refined because we have like the genius mind that is Scott, and then the whole team actually gets to act. Whereas for my own personal stuff, it's just more ideas and then trying to stumble through for results. And
Totally.
so that's a little bit that we still have to stumble through for a little bit of results because unlike a typical e-commerce funnel, we have to sell not a product but a protocol and a way of
Correct.
life, right? And because we don't want people to come in, I think we could actually funnel a ridiculous number of people onto the website. The cookie takes care of it, and a percentage of it would actually probably go in. But that's like throwing spaghetti on a wall and hoping it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is we want educated investors so they know what they're getting into, they know the risks, and they know the potential, and the fact that we are going to be there to support them on each and every step. Like, I don't know about you, but I think I had to watch like 25 videos before I was comfortable with actually depositing into the faucet. And
Rock.
guarding for another month.
Yeah, and to me, man, that should be most people's cryptocurrency story, honestly, because it's very different from what we were doing in the traditional sense. Let's just kind of be honest with how most people probably manage their financial investing. Like typically, if you're relatively new, there is some handholding. Like you typically invite a planner to your house or some destination. You guys sit down and they literally explain what your options are, and then you decide collectively on where you should invest based on like historical performance. And then here's the key, right? Before they leave, there's a whole bunch of paperwork that you're filling out, right? Name,
Yeah.
address, income, debt, blood type, all that other stuff, right? And then they take those documents, and their administrative team handles everything else. And all you have to do is kind of sign up for a website to get access to your portfolio. It's that simple. Where in DeFi, it's quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Like you're attempting to figure out all of that stuff on your own. And quite frankly, not a lot of people have the patience for that. And for me personally, I think the reason I kind of dug in is I saw the true earning potential, like the personal financial benefits that resonated with me and how I could potentially change my life and the lifestyle of the people within my inner circle. And because I had the foresight to see that, I dug in and I forced myself to learn it. But think about this. Then I've actually got a finance background. So I've got all of these things that kind of leads a person like me to really stay committed to figuring it out. I'm
That probably gives you more
probably an
patience than
exception
typical.
to the rule, right? Like most people aren't going to want to do that. So you definitely need to be deliberate on how you onboard people. And you guys are thinking through like the nurturing process. It's the advertising, it's the nurturing. So let's get into that, right? Because I think that's where you're headed. Like the nurturing, like once we get them to click and then think about converting, there's a sales funnel we're going to send them through, right? So can you talk more
Exactly.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're still debating on what step 2 and 3 will be. But first step is to actually bring them into a dedicated Facebook page that we can educate them on a continuous basis. And a lot of it's going to speak generally about DeFi and the importance of it and its role in society, right? Because it's still a new concept for so many people. So that's actually what I've been doing is posting daily on that. So there's a lot of back material. Like, I don't know if you saw, but on the Marketing DAO Twitter, I think I put like 45 tweets within the first day because I wanted anybody that actually looked it up to see that there's something there. And that's kind of the same feeling that we need for Facebook is when somebody clicks on it and joins, they're going to see that there's enough to digest there that they could start to learn and start that process of learning. And filtered into it is slowly, there's like mentions of the garden and the faucet. But we're trying to actually, I've already been told, to refine that message so it's not even mentioning the faucet initially. Because one of the, we don't, it's what's the expression, you confuse, you lose.
Yeah.
I heard Coach say that the other day. I heard Russell Brunson say that on a podcast earlier. It's the same thing, and it makes sense that we will have to refine that message and have a very, very fine funnel so that they can go through. So a couple of things being debated is like a practically a one-on-one live webinar, but I'm sure you've heard Scott talk about the sheer lack of time that all of us have, and time zones are a big thing too. Like I would have to look up at the time zone of Filipino, like those cities are, but just considering that Coach had to get up at 4 or 3 a.m. for
3 a.m. Yeah.
an AMA, then I think it's a doozy. So
Yeah, good
It might
point.
have to do a pre-recorded one, and then it might be a multiples, right? Or it's going to be, there's so many incredible YouTubes out there. That might be part of it, where we could send them to individual YouTubers, but it'd have to be so concise. So maybe it's taking content and chopping it up. Like I've already told Legacy 7, I'm chopping up a lot of his content because he had an incredible segment of testimonials where he would just go on to the Telegram and talk about that.
Yes.
And Scott has rightly so pushed the fact that these testimonials are probably going to be one of the most powerful things, because as soon as you see somebody in your situation, you start to relate, especially if you see somebody that started in your situation and has pulled themselves out and become successful from it. That could be the game changer, the missing piece.
It
Those are the
is,
type of
Rock. It is. It totally is. Massive piece of it, because, think about how we got folks within our inner circle involved in Drip, the faucet. Like, I'm assuming that most people on the call made 1 or 2 referrals at minimum. And a lot of that was based off of your optimism, your interaction with the dev, how good you felt about the community. And likely at the time that you got in, you probably were making money, right? So you had a story to tell, because most people are going to ask you, well, what's your experience been like? And you most better be certain to be talking about a very favorable experience, especially if you're trying to draw people in. So a personal testimony goes back to like, yo, what's your experience been like personally? And then more importantly, it's the trust factor. Hey, I know you, Rock. My guess is you've done some form of due diligence, right? So you work for me. Can you tell me about your experience? And then if you respond favorably, then most likely they're going to give it a shot. So I'm not surprised that personal testimonies are critical, right? And that you guys are thinking about building those in to attract people.
And they need to be. So one of the things is there's a fantastic Filipino Telegram Drip group already. They've actually been super supportive. And so I think we're running a contest so that they're going to have written, spoken, and video testimony. Because if you hear somebody that sounds like you or looks like you or writes like you, these things are just even that much more powerful, even subconsciously, right? So
Yeah.
they're helping in an immense way. And I had big shout out because I just looked, we have 47 referrals at this point. So that's growing every single
Samba,
day in an
Samba,
excellent way.
Samba. 47 referrals already, right? So does that
Yeah,
put you
that's
guys
absolutely
over
incredible.
500 million-ish?
Yeah, so right now I think we have to compound for the day. That's like one of the weaknesses of the multi-sig is even the compounds. You know how important it is for the garden. We have to coordinate all those things, and we're trying to coordinate them because the people have also been incredible and donated LPs like yourself,
Yeah.
Moonshot, and multiple others. I'm actually literally creating a list of MVPs because I don't want to forget the people that are making the videos, shouting us out on Twitter, making the gardens, letting us know that they're making referral gardens.
Yeah.
It is an important part, and I don't want that ever to be lost. And I don't like it. It deserves to be made a big deal because there has been a sentiment within the community about marketing, and people are finally realizing that they can literally have a direct hand and turning that all around. And it's through sharing, through building gardens, through sending LPs. That all has been actually incredible. It's actually blown me away. I thought it would take twice as long to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at about, I think Coach said it in his earlier video, that we're about halfway to where we would need to comfortably be to get started. Now, that comfortably started still requires the whole DAO is already committed to sending their own funds for essentially the first month, because that funnel is step by step. So the first step is to onboard onto Facebook, and that's relatively cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And then the hardest part and the more costly and timely is going to be to educate them properly to get them in. So we're going to need like a runway of at least a month of bringing people in before we're able to actually start to see the results of our efforts in terms of dollar value in the garden, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And here's the wild and crazy part is you guys are doing this out of goodwill, right? No one's being paid a single dime, right? So this goes back to you're volunteering your time and your financial resources with no dev fee associated with the garden you guys are setting up. Like it's 100% going back to the community in some form. Sounds like either through marketing, and if there is excess, then there's going to be competitions that are going to be run that still give the BUSD or the drip back to the community, right? So be super clear there. There's no intention behind what you guys are doing, right?
No,
No
well,
bad
my
intentions.
intention
Yeah.
is, yeah, so no bad intentions. My
Yes.
intent is real. I onboarded family and friends, and these are people that I love and trusted me. And then I've thankfully some incredible members of the community have also trusted me as a team leader. And so there is this deep desire to be right. and,
Soundbar.
and it's
Rock, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
yeah, that's like I've heard too many times from different family members that aren't in it that, hey, crypto is a scam, crypto is not real, not understanding and not willing to understand what's behind it. And I not only do I believe in this particular project, but DeFi as a whole desperately needs Drip to succeed because it's such an important part of the space because this space is so new and it's littered with the thousands of dead bodies of DeFi projects that failed, were exploited, not a strong enough community, or the dev just ran away, the dev took the funds, the dev wasn't trustworthy, the dev hired somebody that wasn't trustworthy.
Yeah. All
And
of the
so
above. Yeah.
if it's like, when you meet the perfect couple and you're like, oh, they've made marriage work, that's why I trust that marriage is a thing. It's the same thought for me for Drip and the Animal Farm and Forex is like, one, the fact that he made it so trust but verify with the immutable contracts. That's just like the gold. That should be the gold standard of every single project that ever exists and is created.
Yeah.
For the very first step, that should be it. And then if you're going to change it, it has to be in the layer. I love the fact that we're going to have layer 2. I hope one day we're going to have layer 85 because it's immutable. There's no change.
Right.
As long as finance is a thing, this should be a thing.
I agree. And why not? Because in our minds, Drip is going to be around and maybe in a different form, but it will be around many, many moons. No, this is good, Rock, because again, I want people to get comfortable with the idea of kind of supporting the marketing DAO because there is no hidden agenda. It is extremely transparent. Everyone's got skin in the game, especially everyone that's part of the team of 6. Everyone's got skin in the game. And I think all of us personally want to be right. We want to see Drip succeed. And the folks that we have invited to participate in this journey with us, we also want them to bear the fruit as well. And part of that is kind of rallying behind an initiative. And it sounds like, again, I'm going to say it because it's worth repeating. One of the gaps within the current ecosystem is like a refined and very deliberate marketing plan. And the crazy part is, Rock, is it's being led by people who work in the industry and or have a passion for it. So it's just not like a random group of 6, right? It is really people that are the best in their fields, and they're going to use raw data to make decisions, and they're going to course correct until they get to a perfect model. And then, Rock, correct me if I'm wrong, once you guys get to a perfect model, that's something that can then be used maybe across the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, so we're trying not to I've been told repeatedly, do not get ahead of yourself because you know me and you know the fact that I just keep spinning out. But thankfully we have Coach and he keeps telling me to focus. Otherwise, my ADD would probably steer us in 20 different directions. So I'm not going to mention that, but there is every single finished product with the referral system has a similar potential. But we're talking hundreds of millions of people that this particular protocol should at least know about, right? And so the idea that our initial plan is not to expand within the ecosystem initially because the garden is such a pillar that people forget about. It is that perfect bridge between Drip and the animal farm. It supports the entire ecosystem in many, many different ways. And it's the backbone. It's that shield that everybody talks about. And it's one of the easiest things for people that have heard about DeFi to understand because it's a miner. And then it's also got that game theory. And the beautiful part about it is that if we do our jobs best, then it's all about contract balance for the so-called decay. And one of the problems is that we've only ever seen a very small number of people trickle in. Like I was messaging with the DAO that we had an average of around 5 new wallets within the garden a day. And some had like 1, some had 2, and then occasionally had 11 new wallets. But like we're talking an average of 5 wallets a day is nothing.
I agree.
Compared to the potential and the number of people even within this ecosystem to get involved into a garden. I personally have 3 gardens now, with one under the DAO. And then, so you got to think there's probably 15 or 20,000 people that are into the garden, if that. And there's the potential for onboarding tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And why couldn't we see in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, a doubling of the number of wallets within the garden every single year if we're able to? It's similar to compound interest for marketing, right? The more money that we could spend making sure that we get our message right and so the right number of people initially, the better our final results will be. So we want to start with at least 2 ads. Ideally, it'd be 3 or 4 running simultaneously so that we can pick the fastest horse, right? Like we don't want something that's performing okay and not understand that, hey, we're missing out the fact that it could cost us a penny less per follower. Like that's the point we're getting to. Like Coach just talked about, a fraction of a penny is our goal for per person that's becomes a Facebook follower. And then we only need to convert, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. We only need to convert about 5% of those that actually follow us on Facebook with only a $10 buy-in.
You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah, as a self-sustaining model. And that's
now let me ask you this: if you know the answer,
it's 3 cents per follow.
Now let me ask you this: is $10 a lot of money for that demographic?
Everything that I do, so I'll base it on the results that I'm getting currently for my own company. For $20 a day, I'm getting roughly anywhere from 800 to 1,200 new followers every single day. And the engagement is incredible. Like I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of shares, and the amount of like people, like the Facebook actually gives you this incredible tool that once you actually start getting enough followers and engagement, then they get you the ability to do edges for the top 150 people. They give you points. Like Facebook is the data collector king, right? They're worse than anyone for if you're actually giving your personal information, they're the worst. But if you're marketing, they're one of the top places to get this stuff, maybe next to Google, but they're so much cheaper. And they get to see your face and you get to see theirs, which is totally unlike anything that exists on Google ad spend. So that's why I like it the most. And then they have a rallying point that they can come to learn, which I love.
Nice, Rock. And we got lucky too. And I wouldn't say lucky. I'm certain you guys thought through it. If you just think about our demographic and the fact that it lines up with Facebook, like if I think about an opportunity within our social media platform for the Drip ecosystem, clearly most of us are on YouTube and Twitter, right? And Doncep did a really good job of kind of leading the charge, him and Mark, on TikTok. Like, I don't know too many other people that have a huge presence on Facebook. So again, that just kind of expands our brand on a different platform, which is great, right? Because we want to continue to hit them from all angles. And then you layer in the fact that it's affordable.
Yeah,
right?
And not only that, it's one of the reasons why people left Facebook was because the content creators weren't getting paid. They would run over to YouTube because of that potential earnings, right? Well, Facebook, even though they're adapting and changing some things, they're now starting to pay. So it hasn't been even touched. I created this Facebook after my conversation with Todd as an experiment, and it has 1,500 people in it already, where I was trying to figure out, I was going after India, trying to figure out that demographic and started to figure out what it would cost for followers who were within that. So it has a starting point. Now, the only unfortunate part about that is every single one of those people are going to be a little confused because we're changing everything to be Filipino based and Filipino focused. So a lot of them are going to be a little bit confused, but it doesn't really matter for that fact because it got us to the point where technically, I think within 60 more days, that Facebook account could be monetized. Now imagine, and this is what I'm talking for my own company, which just became monetized today, is imagine the content you're putting out is able to then help boost or pay for the ads itself. Like that's the dream of any marketer. I haven't even talked to the DAO about that because it hasn't become a reality yet. But
Yeah.
that potential where, yes, the community, the garden, the referrals are all going to help, but every dollar extra we get to put in to an ad spend ends up equating to, I think, 400 more eyes. So every dollar is 400 more people. Now, you think of the budgets, think of the budgets Animal Farm is going after. Now, they're going after whales, in my opinion, right? Like, we've seen some big buys and some big help, and it's that nice, bright, shiny piece. But I said right from the beginning, I'd rather have 100,000 people spend $10 than one person spend $1 million, because one, it creates a more decentralized ecosystem too, right? We do better the more wallets there are when typical DeFi projects crash and burn the moment they get out of 2,000 to 5,000 users. Actually, listening to Bartertown was the first time that actually clicked. I was like, oh, these guys are doing great. And then they hit a point of like 2,000 people. And it's because I think those devs didn't understand the potential of scale, whereas I think Forex is the type of person that not only understands it, but he's thought it through 100 times over and tested it. I think I read once that he tested Drip as if it was already a few years old. Like, that was his test run, was that they were able to expedite and create a timeline. So he already knew that it would last years before it ever launched it.
That's phenomenal. No, I love that, man. So look, Rock, let's do this, man, because I've got a few more questions, but I always have to remind myself that part of the reason we're here is to allow people in the community to kind of have a voice and let people know what's going on, because we have so much talent that we've got to showcase it, to remind people that, hey, there are individuals with a similar story as you. So get comfortable with letting people know about the Drip ecosystem. So tonight, I want to give people, because there's been thousands of questions about the DAO, I want to give our listeners an opportunity to kind of jump in and ask any questions. So for the listeners, it should be on the bottom left-hand corner of your phone, and you have to be on your phone. Yeah. Where's it at?
Unless you haven't updated your phone like me, and then it just doesn't work.
Right. So footnote, assuming you've updated, right, bottom left-hand corner is going to give you an opportunity to speak. And if you had a question that we haven't covered, I'll invite you in. And I want to make sure it's someone I'm familiar with as well. All right, Dividend Miracle, let's see if we can get you in here. Let's give it a sec here.
So, like I said, I've been making a bit of a list. Do you mind if I give a few shout outs to the community?
Absolutely, especially when I try to get Dividend Miracle in. You got it.
All right. So we've got yourself, which is actually number one. Drip Gardener made a great YouTube video. Legacy 7 not only made a garden, sent LPs, and a YouTube video. Moonshot Max did a fantastic video this morning, sent LPs, made a garden. Master Chef made like a $1.2 billion plant garden under us, which was incredible.
Woo! Who did that?
Master Chef.
Master Chef. Baller.
Yeah. Unmade Sugar said that he was sending LPs. We got Driptopia did an incredible AMA, and that alone, I saw over 20 people immediately go follow us on Twitter. I think there was like 6 gardens made with like during that AMA. Ryan Matthews, who's an incredible team member, made a garden. LCM made a garden. Tony Moreau is building a garden. Tog Nugs, the whole inspiration for even telling me to share. Crypto Watcher, Lydia the Faucet, said that she made her largest garden to date. And Crypto Timo, I saw, shared a link and an image on his YouTube channel. And Raymond Ali made a garden as well. Now, I know there's more people that have supported, but those are the ones that I've been able to catch.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the shout out is real, because like we said, this is completely community driven and community funded, at least at the beginning. It's just that initial start that we really need the most help. And then the nice part about those garden referrals is that they're continuous, right? Like every single time I hydrate, it's not I don't believe it's in a round robin system. It's just continuous. You get a percentage every single time somebody hydrates.
Unbelievable. See, that's what people are missing out on, Rock. They get their names shouted out on Twitter Spaces. They didn't realize that was a perk for actually supporting the DAO. See? So if you want your name shouted out, you got to go support the Drip Marketing DAO. No, that's not why we do it, man. You know why we do it? Is because we all want our drip bags to
Hell yeah.
And part of that is contributing in whatever manner you can. And it sounds like a lot of people are doing whatever is possible. If it's contributing to LPs, if it's using their skills, if it's sharing the message, it's like, look, man, find a way to contribute to the process, because if we do, it benefits our entire drip bag. Like, that is the true intentions behind what you guys are doing. And I just want people to hear your message as often as they can, ask the right questions, and really support the idea. Because we know it all the time. There are thousands of people, and it seems like, there's always the same group of individuals that get behind certain products and initiatives, which is fantastic. But can you imagine if we double that number, or if we 5x that number of people that were really active in the community? How
Well, a
broad,
lot
or
of
how
new
much broader
faces
this
on
thing could
today.
be? Yeah. Say it again, Rock.
There's a lot of new faces that I'm not recognizing today as I look through. Like,
See,
there's obviously the staples, but there's a few new faces, which is incredible.
and that's what we need, right? So we're picking up momentum. The buzz is out there. And you and I both know what happens. It's like when the rubber meets the road and you guys can actually start having real conversations about what the data is telling you. Maybe the first couple of conversions, which you can confirm are outside of the drip community. Once that contract balance starts going up, like, all that stuff changes, and people have short memories once we start getting, like, the contract balance in the garden growing, the
Absolutely.
drip price getting higher. Like, those two variables by themselves, once you start to see your daily earnings in dollars, it's going to be scary when that
Absolutely.
garden starts to pick up momentum. It will be insane.
You
Remember,
ever
it's up
come
2 and
across an
3%.
old? Yeah, have you ever come across an old garden video and it's like, I just made $27,000 today. I don't know what to do with this. Like, it is mind blowing. And then they go, I'm going to compound it.
It is scary, Rock, and I'm glad you guys chose that, because it is the one thing that's kind of sitting out there, that and the piggy bank, right? Because the faucet in the reservoir gets a ton of attention, right? And then the animal farm clearly is the highest priority for Forex Shark at the moment. And the garden was just kind of sitting there by himself, but it's got insane earning potential. So I'm glad you guys chose that. I didn't
Most
think through the
hate
reasons you
regarding.
guys thought through, but it's a good practical choice.
I think so. I think it's going to be, I do think it's the easiest to actually onboard. And part of it is the fact that it's not the buddy address. So I've personally walked through multiple people to become part of my team. And some of them have been in person, and then some of them over the phone or through text. And every single person just through text put in the original marketing buddy address and then end up becoming a team member. So, I mean, there is such a small room, but you can make that error. And all of a sudden, if we did that, it'd be great for the protocol. But all of a sudden, there's that broken link where we couldn't utilize that money to find more and more people. And then Scott's done it in his latest video today, which was fantastic. But that time, that extra time, like the garden, it's instantaneous referral bonus, right? It comes in every single day and tax on. So that's like a
And where
very
does it go, Rock? When you say where does it go? Does it go towards the available
no,
plans
it's
that you can take
instantly
out?
within, but think of it as 3 times the speed of availability, right?
Yes, gotcha. Okay.
And then that exponential growth, now everybody thinks of it as decay, but if we're actually successful and say instead of 5 new gardeners a day, we're getting 50, then there is no more decay. That
Correct.
won't exist within a month or 2 or 3, depending on our success. Maybe it's 5, depending on our initial funding, maybe it's 6. But the nice part is that once we do nail that message, then it continually gets to upgrade. Maybe it's 1% increase in ad spend every single week based on the success. Maybe it's 10% if it's super successful and we started with a lot more funding, right?
Yeah.
That part is going to be very, very key to how fast. There's no doubt in my mind that we're successful, just based on the conversations and how quickly everybody's working. And I see he's a speaker, so I won't tell him how great he is anymore. But efficient coaches, there's just no doubt in my mind that we're not successful. It's just a matter of how quickly can we get to the results that we need to see, right? So that we can actually continuously refund that ad spend without it coming from our own pockets, because there's only so much before my wife will take control of my bank account.
But the good news is, we said it earlier, it's Facebook and it's affordable.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot with your dollars. And It is specific to our demographic. It is the platform that they use. So to me, it doesn't seem like it's going to take as long, but I don't care how long it takes, right? Right. Obviously, we want things to kind of circulate as fast as possible. But the fact of the matter is, we've got all the time in the world because we're expecting Drip to be around for many, many moons. And the key is we want to get it right. At the end of the day, we simply want to get it right. And that's going to take, we're going to throw somewhat of a large fish net out there, although I know you guys are more specific than that. You're going to throw something out there and kind of see what sticks and then modify based on the results. To your point, to get to a fine-tuned marketing campaign that you can rinse and repeat. And here's the one thing I'm guessing too, but I don't want to assume it. You guys aren't necessarily planning on turning that off, right? Because
No.
the garden is infinite. So there should be fresh capital coming in quite a bit if it's effective. So there should be marketing constantly.
Not only should it be constant, but it should be ever growing if we're successful. So
Yes.
you might see that ad start to get stale because it's been shown to the same people so many times. But there is this thought that you need to see something 7 times before
Yep.
you buy it, right? So the chance is that probably if seen it 14 or 15 times, they're no longer going to do it. And that might start to ding us. And so we'll have to adapt or put new ads out. But that if we nail this, we should be able to get the proper ad out and running for like 6 months. I've heard people talk about having the same ad for a year and a half, and it's still bringing in enough leads to continuously fund itself and be profitable. Now, we're never going to be profitable, but maybe that profit can go to a new market or expand the horizon. That's where until we get to that point, I don't see us jumping markets. I see us nailing the message and fine tuning until we're, I need a different word, but instead of profitable, excess funds where we know we're onboarding as many as physically possible, and now we can take that money and seed a new market. And so it should be exponential growth if done properly and everything goes according to plan. We should just be able to hit, think of the billions of people. When I did the avatar that we came up with, a little bit rougher than what we've refined it to, and I saw it on Coaches, there was 22 to 40 million people that would be interested in passive income, DeFi, crypto. That's a lot of people. And if we're able to, just think of the power of if we were able to make a Facebook group that had, let's say, people in it, and we converted 5% of that, and then we were able to take, not only that is that we can use that platform to then expose them to other. Now, here's me getting ahead of myself again. I gotta stop.
That's okay. Get ahead of yourself, because all that means is you're excited because you see the true potential. Part of that is just based off your prior experience. Like, we're not predicting future success, but you know what works. And it's really just a matter of you actually executing those same strategies specifically for Drip. So I totally understand why there's like this level of excitement and enthusiasm, because freaking frat, man, like that's kind of something we've been missing, like a concerted, concentrated, deliberate message on Drip. And I'm so freaking happy that the community is taking a hold of this thing, man. Like I say this, Brock, I'm telling you, man, you can tell I'm getting amped up because my volume's raising. I tell people this freaking stuff all the time, man. Like, you have to get in the game. Like, everyone can sit around and complain about a situation. And then you've got to ask yourself a really tough question. Like, what are you doing about it? Like, what are you specifically doing about it? And then honestly, you don't really deserve the right to complain, although it's human nature, but you really don't, because that is just negative energy and it's unhealthy, right? So either one, remove yourself from the situation, or two, become part of the solution. Right. So for me, I'm glad that the community said, look, man, it's unnecessary for Forex Shark to throw us a lifeline in terms of marketing. Right. We've got a massive community. And I know for a fact that people are smart enough to lead a marketing campaign. It's just a matter of someone organizing the concept, people supporting it. Right. So that's all we've been missing. And to say that it's not going to work, that's dumb as heck. Right. Because something is better than nothing. Right. Let me repeat. Something is better than nothing, which means what little we do is going to move the needle. And then the bigger the impact really evolves around contributions from the community, because it would be unrealistic and unreasonable for 6 people to foot the load for thousands of people. Come on, man. This isn't the movie The 300, right? Like, for anybody who's seen that, this isn't that movie, right? Nobody's trained in all of that stuff, man. Like, we really need everybody to show up in some way, right? And that's all we're saying. So for me, I love the fact that you guys are taking the lead on this thing, man. It's really just a matter of getting the word out and people really understanding it, the benefits associated with it, and then trusting the people on the team. And
I
then you
think
guys just do your
understanding the
part.
lack of risk to their own personal selves, or even the wallet. Like say we were somehow masterminds and just happened to know each other from, I actually have no idea where Scott is from, but Cambodia, Canada, and somewhere in the States that obviously grow people with amazing beards, but all somehow figured out a way to mastermind this. There's still no risk to that individual that's building a garden underneath. So no matter
Exactly.
what
If you
we
set up the
do,
garden. Yes.
and you know what, the very worst case, say the absolute worst case, we're just all of us get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm going to knock on some wood somewhere, but we just got 47 new gardens in the garden, which only, I think we had the lowest decay rate today or yesterday that we've seen in months. So there's a, that's the very smallest, worst possible case.
What do you think it is? What do you think it is, Rock? Is that a
I think that's what
coincidence?
it said. I think no. I think that we did just see somebody have like the biggest garden buy of all time. I think they just put 26K in. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they didn't use us as a referral, but that still means that the sentiment around the garden is changing, and I think it's because
1,000%.
people understand. I do not think that the community understands the power of the garden. I think that they look at the thing and that chart that's on the white paper and they get scared. And I think that they look at the older videos or were part of it and spent $6 a plant and say, now I can buy 6 million plants for $6. And they go, that's too risky for me. Not understanding. And Drip Guide says, laid this out so perfectly because he's also an incredible educator.
1,000%.
It's LPs in and LPs out. That means that decay, as soon as we start actually bringing more and more people in, starts to go away. And where that extra one, it locks up drip, right? So it does eliminate some of the supply that's out there, and that will be way, way more impactful once DDD comes out and every single drip actually starts to become finite.
I agree. I agree. And just to give you perspective too, like I took a snapshot late yesterday evening, maybe right around 4 or 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. The contract balance was at 217.
Okay.
We're up 227,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
a needle move.
that's insane. And again, people should be looking at their LP production. And obviously, you know, the one thing that people pay attention to is their fiat. Those couple things should have gotten a nice little bump. Like people need to kind of stop worrying about the price of the plants, right? And really focus on a couple things: the contract balance, drips price, and your LP production. As long as you're in a positive position in terms of your LP production, your garden is fine. A couple things you obviously need to do is you need the hyper compound, let's be honest. And if you can afford it, you need the DCA in. Like those couple things until the drip price and the contract balance starts to increase, at a minimum helps you kind of maintain your equity share in the garden, right? Because
Mhm.
again, there's gamemanship associated with a minor type of garden where you've got to maintain your position, right? And it just simply comes through hyper compounding or the DCA. But
Or the referrals. Like I noticed there was I've been looking at doing analytics a fair amount, trying to figure out essentially what we would have to do in order to be successful. And the top person has, I think it's 1,144 referrals.
only one
I
thought.
don't think that guy has to hyper compound because I think that those, as long as his referrals are hyper compounding, that's helping. Now,
Good point, Rock.
and imagine that would be the exact same thing when you look at our garden in 2 years and there's 40 or 50 or 60,000 referrals under it. It'll be the same thing. That marketing budget will be ginormous in my mind. My daydream, which I do think can become reality. And Coach can tell me to shut up anytime. But
Let me see if your coach is on there. Coach, I see you as a speaker. I'm not sure if you're lifting weights or something or having tea. Let me see what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm taking it all in.
Right on, brother. Look, I gotta teach, man, because look, man, we're cut from the same cloth. I am a huge advocate for physical fitness. My one struggle, which is why I'm going to sign up for your programs, is nutrition. I enjoy whatever I want. Like if you cut me right now, I would bleed ice cream, Snickers, and Oreo cookies. Yeah.
No.
But you couldn't tell. Like it's like a Lambo, but when you lift up the hood, it's got like a Honda engine in it, right? Like that's that's me, right?
Oh man.
So I feel like some days I can kind of burn off the calories, which you and I both know that's not possible because the Snickers bar's got like 400 calories, and you know how long it takes you to burn 400 calories on a treadmill. It's not worth it, right? So nutrition, I know, is a massive part of it. So I'm teasing you when I say you're probably working out, but I know you're a huge advocate of physical and mental fitness. Yeah.
Yeah. I am here in the gym, but I keep myself muted so you don't have that breathing in the background again.
Thank God it's an adult program, 18 and over, right? So when you hear all the heavy breathing in the background, life is good. Life is good.
Yeah, fact. Well, since you got me on, I just want to say just a quick shout out to Rock for holding it down, man. Great discussion, dropping some key nuggets for sure, and sharing your insight, you know, where you came from and how this all got started. And that's literally how the conversation kicked off with me and him. I just sent him a message like, hey, I heard about you and something about marketing. He kind of shared the same story with me. And I was like, we should do something. And then this opportunity came up. But 3 points I wanted to pick out of this AMA real quick is it's the verbiage I heard a couple times from Rock, and nothing against you. This is just my coaching hat coming on. And it's not a matter of if we will be successful, if this works. We will be successful. Maybe not immediately, but absolutely indefinitely. This
1000%.
cannot fail.
Amen.
It can't fail
1000%.
because the people we have on board and what our vision and mission is and what the system is about, 100% we're not going to fail. And that's only barring any black swan events such as BSC disappearing.
Yeah. No, that's true.
That would be it.
That's
That
true,
would be
Coach.
it.
Yeah.
So just want to keep that in mind because I brought this up to Ray. I didn't listen to his video yet, but I did hit him up in a chat and let him know about what we're doing. And yeah, he said, yeah, he's not going to be able to co-sign on it and we should have run it by Forex. And I get all that. You know, he has his general hat on of what he wants to do and how he wants to lead the troops. And I'm going to do it my way as well, but we're all going to the same goal. So
Yes.
we may not have that co-sign from the original adopters yet, but like I told them in the chat, I was like, we will get so big that they can't ignore us. And they'll come knocking on our door.
1000%. Soundbar, God. Soundbar. Soundbar.
So I plan on having them come approach us, and we'll have this conversation later. And we'll see how that shapes up because we will be recognized for sure. And then reference the rewards. It's actually 5% every time you make that positive action. So I've had a sub garden, my biggest garden under myself for the whole year, and every time I compound on the big garden, I actually can go immediately to my small one and collect those seeds available. So it's an immediate kickback. And that's how I've actually like 10,000 X ROI on my small garden. That small garden has 19,000 plants, but I've taken out a couple $100.
Okay, hey, that's alpha. If you're paying attention, it just really. No, Coach, that's good to know because, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, especially for a lot of people that follow Ray, because Ray is a massive influencer in the space, and he has nothing but great intentions. Like he wants to see the drip ecosystem succeed. So he's really just warning his audience to kind of just be careful, right? So currently he wasn't aware of it. He didn't say anything negative about it. He just simply reminded his community to kind of do your own research because it's not really a sanctioned product initiative from their team. And I was like, you know what, that's completely fine. And I like your response to it. And I thought about it slightly different. I was like, do you know how many people currently today do independent marketing in their own way?
Yeah.
Right? Just stop and think about that. In their own way, right? Exactly. It is Twitter, it is YouTube, and you made reference to JC, and I know him pretty well, JC Crypto. Like CryptoZoa, they kind of came up with that concept as well. And everyone was branding Drip in their own way. And guess what? None of that was approved by Ray and Forex in this example, right?
And they have the biggest team. Drip
and they've got a massive team. Yeah.
I do want to say that trust but verify part. I saw it on Moonshot's video. The number of times that he looked back on making sure that he had the right address, that alone, we've heard Ray talk about the scammers that switch addresses, is make sure you go to a verified site. So we're wonderful the fact that so many YouTubers are putting our address up to support. You could always go and talk to Coach, talk to Scott. I know Driptopian has it on the top of his Telegram or on Twitter, and you're going to see me spam it an outrageous amount, at least 40 times a day, where you can check that address and make sure that it's the right one. That's really the only risk, is that you're giving the referral to somebody else. And you can see that it's
creating their own gardens. You're creating your own garden.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's actually the best part, like Rock touched on, is because at the worst case scenario, we're just going to be crappy team leaders, and we've seen that already in the space, right? So it's like
Yeah,
that's literally the baddest thing that could happen is like you used us to give us a referral bonus, and then we're just horrible at marketing and horrible team leaders. But you don't have to worry about round robin rewards or airdrops because your garden is already there, and those bonuses aren't coming directly from you, so to speak.
yeah,
But they have to go to somebody anyway, right? They're going some. So
correct.
there's no loss at all to the community, and that's what I explained to Ray as well in this. So it's like, yeah, this is 100%. They call Drip community driven, community owned, but yet when you try to do stuff, it's ironically gate kept
Right,
by
you
the
can't
community.
do
I
that.
don't
You
get
got
it.
it bouncing past me. Why?
Right.
It's my
So that's
money.
why, yeah, I
Yeah,
said in the video, and I've been telling the group behind scenes, it's like, yeah, want to be well says it, take it by force, and that's 100% what I want us to do. It's like just get this so big they can't be ignored, and that they will recognize the actual community aspect of crypto, because that's what crypto is about, DeFi specifically, and that's why I don't resonate with the solo sport. Because if someone didn't buy Bitcoin buy pizza with Bitcoin, we wouldn't be here today. It'd just be sitting on Hal Finney's laptop, and then it would have just died, the
yeah,
Satoshi Nakamoto, and that's it. But it got adopted by the community and picked up. So community is the biggest piece in marketing and anything, in any kind of adoption. So
yes.
we need that aspect, and that's what this marketing DAO is about. And the last piece I wanted to share, you go back to Rock and bring some other people on, is reference you asked about the amount of money for our demographic, and is that feasible for them? So I ran some numbers, Rock ran some numbers. I have a video coming out with these numbers. We're pretty close. We didn't do this together, so it's interesting. We got some similar data. Mine's a little bit cheaper than him, but
Yeah.
it all depends on Facebook ads. But it's basically what I got is like about a 2% conversion and about $5 a person. Is
Okay,
all we need to do.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and
Yeah,
and
that
that's
makes
I'll
for
take
the Philippines and based. Sorry, go ahead, Rock.
I said I'll take that.
Yeah, and I've seen it even cheaper here in Cambodia because it's even cheaper here. So it will all depend. But the point I'm getting at, what you asked, is like, is that feasible? And the answer is yes. Like that $5 in the Philippine country, not only is it feasible as a one-time entry to join our wallet, it's also something they could do reoccurringly, right? So this isn't like a one-time set and forget it. These people join, and then they could be DCAing another $5 a week later. So this really
absolutely,
has infinite scale.
absolutely. Especially once they understand the benefits and how it can change their financial outlook, their future. Yeah, I totally agree. Let me ask you guys this, both you guys, while you're on there, because I don't know specifically. Have you guys done any ads just yet, or are you guys still kind of ramping up and need to get the dollars collected first?
So far, those are being scripted and thought out, and we
Okay.
have a couple different base ideas for those. The only ads that have technically run out were the ones that I mentioned, where I did an experiment to see how much it would cost to get 1,500 followers from India for that
Yeah.
Facebook.
Got it.
So the next
Okay.
part is that there's still a mentality. It was really expensive to get number 1 to 100. And then every single person that saw that this was real and this actually there was somebody already involved and following the page, it got cheaper and cheaper by the person. So I think that's good. And it's happening the same on my actual company. Facebook is the same thing. It seems to get cheaper and cheaper because people see that it's a big thing and they go, holy crap, 60,000 people like this, there must be something to like. So that's the only thing that's been spent.
Yeah.
We're still in accumulation and fundraising mode, and then design and figuring that out. Like we've talked about the fact that we do want to share the results. You're going to see it on all 3 of our channels. And thankfully, every single YouTuber that wants to ask us for information will share it, and they can spread the word. But we were talking about doing like a live, almost like breakdown meeting, because none of us outside of these AMAs have not actually had the time to gather and talk with each other. It's all been through either voice memos or written. And then Coach has this incredible spreadsheet as well. Lets us know exactly what we have to do, when we have to do it by. And so we were talking about having like a live meeting where we could break down our results and break down what we've done to be as transparent as possible. The only difficult part, of course, is timing.
Yeah, for sure. Again, because you guys actually have another life outside of the DeFi Drip ecosystem. That's a guess. I don't know for sure, but that's a guess.
Not me. I live and breathe this stuff.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing. People have got to be sensitive to that, right? Like this isn't the only thing that people do within 24 hours. It's a part of what they do. And you guys are volunteering your time and, again, your financial resources to kind of help scale the Drip brand, which is why I want to remind everyone that this takes time, because there is the fundraising phase, there's the strategy and tactical things that they've got to think through, and then there's the execution piece, and then there's the evaluating the results, and then revisiting the marketing campaign, and then it's going to be a process. But in the meantime, as we continue to make people aware of the DAO, the expectation, and I hate to say it that way, but it is that the community finds a way to get involved. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but just figure out what's comfortable for you. And that could be sharing, that could be contributing financially, that could be creating a drip garden. Because while they're figuring out the right fit for the marketing campaign, it'd be nice if they had, capital there to really aggressively go after something that they know works. Because again, the
And
the the
compounding.
benefit is to the entire drip community by way of the garden, man. It's going to benefit everybody. All right, so let's do this, because Rock, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, like, the earlier you make a garden under us, the more it compounds. You could have a smaller bag supporting us and have a greater effect because of that 3% every single day. It's helping in an exponential way. Like, some of the gardens that have been created have been $5 and $10, and that's still an incredible support, right? It's not, you don't have to do the Master Chef, even though that was incredible, where you're putting $600 or $700 in. That's not needed for this thing to succeed. I would much rather have every single person that ever hears about it put a $5 garden under us than one person decide it's a good thing and put 1,000, right? Like, there is.
Yeah, makes sense, right? Plus, man, like, this is a really good opportunity for people to think about starting maybe a garden or perhaps a second one, because much like coaches implied, in my mind, I don't see how this thing can fail, right? Because there really hasn't been a concentrated effort towards the garden specifically, right? Because I don't want to overstep the garden specifically, with professionals leading the charge, right? So something is better than nothing. Remember, we were at zero before, right? And we're going to raise the level. So my guess is there's going to be some type of impact. Nobody can really quantify that, but there's guaranteed going to be some impact based on the marketing they're going to be doing. So why not think about getting into the garden now? Forget about what they're doing. Like, get into the garden now and you ride the wave up, right? Because in my example, I just told you, less than 24 hours, we're at 217,000 LP tokens, and now we're at 227. Is that a weird ass coincidence? I think not, right? So why not get your LPs now where they're relatively cheap before the marketing really hits and starts to be impactful? Now it's going to be more and more expensive for those same LPs. And then you layer in the compounding effect that Rock just mentioned, right? So the sooner you get started, the better, right? And then the byproduct is, if you do it under their referral link, there's marketing dollars, so we get there a lot quicker. So just think about it. That's all I'm saying. Just, it's your money, your move. Just think about it.
I agree.
Right?
I couldn't have said it any better. No, that's perfect. Legitimately, there is a theory that I'm bouncing around in my head, and I think we might be able to prove whether I'm right or not. And this is completely secondary, is the fact that a small DeFi project, so I'm talking under 10 million users, a continuous red chart is not actually a market issue. It's a marketing issue, because that's dealing with so few people that the chance of finding the right people to continuously invest there is. So, like, there's been a lot of talk about a downturn in North America, right?
Yes.
Well, there is a continuous thought, well, now you need to spend twice as much to get the same number of eyes on you. So if you have a sales problem, it's still a marketing problem. The same rules could technically apply, especially when you're talking, you can easily scale globally. There's always going to be somebody with money. There's always going to be somebody looking to side hustle or gain passive income. And there is no way we could try for the next 50 years to actually get in front of every single person that's going to be interested in DeFi. And there's no chance that no matter how much money we have or how many years we have to do it, we can get in front of every single one of those. Well, so that means that there's constantly, every single year, room to grow and every single day to get in front of more people. And not only that, is that every single day, it's actually going, every single bull run, it's going to get easier to convert people
True.
because they're at least now coming into crypto. And
Very
so
true.
I would love if we could skip the line. Like I've only read a few comments of people that went straight to DeFi and skipped all those intermediary steps of crypto trading and NFTs and all the rest. I've heard a few people just get straight into DeFi, but that means if they were educated on that, and there's so many bad things happening with centralized banks that that part's in the news already. That's already aware for a massive part of the population that something's really messed up in our
Yeah.
current system. And fiat and debt-based systems are horrendous. And if you ever listen to Drip Guy go on to a rant, it's one of my favorite things of all time. Is when he goes on a rant about the fiat system and what a shit show it is.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. He just vocalizes it in a way that registers with me and why DeFi is so important. And so we can't see this fail. And honestly,
It's
the
not.
mechanics are built
Yeah.
so that it can't fail.
I agree.
Which is even better.
I agree, Rock. It cannot fail. It cannot, like taxes. What is it? Death and taxes, and then the marketing DAO. Those are the guarantees in life. Those three right there. No, man. Look, again, I think everyone wants to see. No, let me start over. Everyone's intentions are the same. We want to see Drip succeed because we're so heavily invested financially and with our time, right? And then for all the other people that we've introduced the product to, like we want to see it win. And I feel like you guys, have the same deep desire and passion, but then you back it up again with your level of expertise. And the proof is in the pudding. Once there is fruits of the labor, then the FOMO kicks in. Like everybody's not willing to put their toe in the water just yet, right? They want someone else to put their toe in and let them know, hey, how's the temperature? Is the water cold or is it warm? Can I get in? Right. So people are kind of waiting for someone else to kind of gauge the barometer. And then once they realize it's comfortable, then they're gonna jump in. Right. So for me, the toughest part is just getting started. So you guys sound like there's a few details you've kind of got to work through, still fundraising. And once you get to a certain point, you're just gonna go. Right.
Well, I do want to put a scenario in people's minds that imagine when we're successful, I'm going to change that for Drip Coach. When we're successful,
When
we're able to say my dream would be to double the number of wallets within the garden every single year. Now, how comfortable would you how comfortable would the common public not be to see the contract balance building every single year because the marketing is feeding it and it's a not-for-profit? So you know that the whole purpose is to scale and build itself. You would feel better about onboarding your own family and friends because now it's no longer a risky investment. You know it's going to constantly build because there's an unlimited number of people and the marketing scales. This is why, in my mind, I'm not saying days wouldn't be red or weeks wouldn't be red, but months or a year should never, in my opinion, exist with the proper ideals within marketing come into play. And we've heard Scott talk about it, that these devs are incredible masterminds of a product and a protocol. And if we didn't have that, we would have nothing to market. But the fact that they were able to, Forex was able to create such an incredible, immutable contract that we can trust is going to be here tomorrow, that gives me an ethical capability of shilling this to every single human being that's out there.
Love it. Love it, Rock. Love it, man. And I truly believe everything you just said as well. It is immutable. We've got a massive community. We've got a brilliant dev. We've got the right influencers that are working their butt off and keeping the message alive despite all the footers and all the other critics. Like we've got everything working for us, which is why I'm kind of anxious just speaking for myself because I see the massive potential of being like that lighthouse. You know what I mean? Like where everyone else is kind of seeking, like drowning in this water, right? And we're this lighthouse telling people, look, man, it's a bear market, but the drip faucet pays you 1% per day. The garden pays you up to 3.3% per day. And people are looking for something to be drawn to. Like we have such a massive opportunity to come out of this bear market as a DeFi leader. so that when retail finally works their butt into cryptocurrency through the alts and then eventually into DeFi, guess what brand they're going to recognize, because we have staying power. That's why it's so massive for us to kind of seize the moment, because there's so many other products that have failed. What if we are the one that survives situation, this bear cycle? That's why I'm anxious, man. And I think that's why a lot of people tend to get a little frustrated, because we see the massive potential and we just want it to play out in terms of price. And I think all the things that we've got going for us right now, with the announcement coming from Forex on Friday, right? We know that Triple D is still there. Then we've got concentrated marketing efforts, and then all the other community-driven projects like the Guardians of the Reservoir, and then the Hellhounds, and then Droplet, kind of burning drip. Like, we've got so much momentum, kind of building up. Like, it's going to hit, and I think we're just anxious. That's all. I think we're just anxious.
I do have a question for you, and I want everybody else to ask themselves this too. Would you ever go into another protocol if you just saw continuous growth? Like, I think all these
Continuous growth or continuous decline? I want to make sure.
Yeah, because if you saw continuous growth for all of time, would you, like, there's a Richard Hart quote where he's like, diversity is garbage. Find
Yeah.
the most profitable asset that's here to stay and just stick with it. And so I'm wondering, like, all these shit forks, will they ever exist again once we actually get our ass in gear and we hit this from all sides? Like, are they just gone? Is that just going to be a waste side? There's never going to be a new product except for community built layer 2s, 3s, 4s, 5, 85, 96. Like, do we need it? Does the world need it?
It would be nice, Rock, but I'm telling you, man, there's always a small part of me that wants to play the lottery. Small part of me.
I'm going to play DD every day.
A small part of me and that's just me, right? Because there's always a small party that says, look, man, if I've got this little bit of money and someone says I can 100x, but I'm secure in all of my other positions, right? That's why we tell people only be willing to invest the money you're willing to lose, make sure it's risk capital. So that assumes that all the other things associated with your lifestyle is completely fine, right? You've got a savings account, you've got long-term savings, you've got stable investments like the Drip and the Animal Farm and the Garden that's just kind of printing for you. So you ask yourself, can I afford to maybe take on a little bit more risk for an opportunity to do something insane in terms of exits?
You said something interesting. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
At what point, when you said savings account and like a nice chunk in the bank, does that change where you no longer trust that bank as for your savings account? Like, when does that change? Because that's a question I keep asking myself, and I know this is off topic, but we're talking about security and trust and the reason why DeFi is in a perfect place. And to me, that is a subconscious comment that you made, and it's but I've actually been thinking about this, is when do I stop trusting? I've always not trusted my bank, because the first time you ever try and take out 10 grand and they say no, you realize that's not a trustworthy organization. It's a question I keep asking myself, and when you said that, I got curious on what your thinking is for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. And like, knee-jerk response without really thinking through it completely. For me personally, it would have to be once cryptocurrency is more widely accepted, meaning
Not
that there's
accepted.
more accepted, meaning there's an opportunity for me to transact with crypto quite a bit more, right? So now I can actually buy products and services using my cryptocurrency, because now I can kind of swap between checking. Yes, because now I can move between checking and savings and things like that. That would make it a lot more simpler for me to kind of be more open to the idea of getting away from like a traditional savings and earning my whopping 1% or less annually to maybe trusting something where I'm earning, like, I don't know, 5% a month, and really committing 100% of my savings in that space. I think there probably also have to be, Rock, maybe a little more oversight, dare I say it, right? Maybe just a little. I don't know what that means.
Really helped.
Yeah, maybe just a little, because again, I still don't know who's behind that curtain, and that always bothers me.
Do you know who's at the top of your bank?
No, but here's what, to your point, traditionally, we're kind of trusting like the SEC and a board of directors, right? To kind of understand and vet those people. I know that is an easy out because back to your question, hell no, I don't know who any of those people are, and I'm blindly trusting them. So you would say, how's that different from what you're doing in crypto? And I would say, Rock, quite frankly, it isn't. But I'm conditioned to think that there's someone on the other side that's vetting these people who's responsible for my money. And because I've been brought up in this system, I'm going to trust the process. And I think we do need to be, unprogrammed, for lack of a better word, and have more years in the space to get to a point where we can trust it a bit more.
I think the time will be that.
Yes.
That's key, because I read an incredible book. I grew up thinking that Canada had never done any wrong. I'm a very proud Canadian. I love my country, but we've certainly done wrongs. And when you read the history of the fact that we Canadians actually set up all the banking systems within the Caribbean alongside the Brits, and we made it so that if you were a local, you could not get a loan for a business, a loan for a house, unless you were co-signed by somebody from North America or England. So these are the banks that we've created for ourselves. We know that there's bias and systemic issues throughout North America, Europe, everywhere, right? There isn't a spot on the planet that doesn't have that corruption. And my thinking for DeFi is that the regulation comes from the people for the first time. So right now, I think there's like 5 major banks across Canada. You don't really have a lot of choice, right? Where I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more banks in the States, but there's a lot of regional banks, so a lot less choice. Whereas for DeFi, it's global. So the vote is by the people. If you don't trust it, then you can all leave, right? And so as soon as you have the ability to get up and put your money where your trust is, and people earn it, like so Forex in 10 years, you're telling me that you wouldn't trust every single dime in his hands, or in his immutable contracts, not in his hand, but in his immutable contracts, he creates a savings account. I'm just, I know I'm going way off topic.
No, but that's something to think through, right? There's something to think through, because honestly, Rock, I've moved a much larger percentage of my true savings over in complete transparency, because I personally, with the finance background, the economics just didn't make any sense to me financially, to kind of hold it. Say it again.
Did you go USD?
Yes.
Yeah.
USD.
Okay.
Yep.
That's where I started to take any type of profits I've been putting it into USD or Wrap BNB and keeping it on the farm. And that is, in my mind, going to become my savings account. Obviously, not financial advice for anybody. I'm just going through what's been going through my mind for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And now that the banks are starting to deteriorate and we're seeing them falling left and right, and rumors of more, I just keep thinking, like, when is it now intentional ignorance on where this is all heading? And I think I saw in Coach's latest video that it was, if you base everything on US dollar, everything is trending up, but if you base it all on Bitcoin, as you just, everything is trending down. And that sparked like this crazy thought, because everything is currently valued at US dollars. And I saw another one where somebody said Bitcoin's going to be $100 million, and the guy laughed in his face. He said, I think you just don't understand that the US dollar is going to be worth so little.
It still is to this day. Yeah. It takes so much more to buy the same things a year ago. Yeah. I agree. So, Rock, let's do this, man, because you know how
I know it's been like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, life is so good, and people, oh my God, no. But again, it's incredible information, and it's rare that you have people that are so passionate about it that we can just talk for hours about crypto, and the foresight that we have about what's really happening in traditional world and how that's kind of translating over into crypto. Because if someone's not paying attention, again, it's no surprise that the price of Bitcoin is going up. Right, that's not a surprise. Like, people are starting to find that Bitcoin becomes a safe haven for your fiat. So let's do this. Coach and Rock, is there anything you guys want to leave the listeners with? There's a Bernie question that kind of continues to pop up, or something you want to consider. Call to action. Now's the time.
My call to action is send me more testimonials. Like, I want to see them tag. You can write them on your own Twitter. Tag me in them, send them to me. If you're going to talk about the DAO, let me know so that I can share it on Twitter.
Perfect. That sounds simple enough. Is Coach still on, or did he drop? Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, all good from my side, man. Yeah, you guys did a phenomenal job. Just
Right
I
on.
guess the only thing is stay tuned. I'm going to keep putting out content and keep you guys updated. I already made that pledge of integrity and transparency, so you guys will see the updates from me, and then of course the team will be doing some other collaborative ones as well. So
I love it.
that's about it.
Yeah, and you guys have got me amped up, man. I've been seeing some phenomenal videos recently about all the amazing things that's been going on in the community, and I felt like I was doing my part by hosting the Twitter Spaces on Wednesday, and that's just a small nugget. Like, I'm ready to kind of get back focused on YouTube, so I'm gonna do this for all the people who were patient enough for hanging out and listening almost 2 hours. Do me this favor, for anybody that's still paying attention, go find my Drip to Wealth YouTube channel, Drip to Wealth YouTube channel, and in the comments of whatever the most recent video is, maybe about 45 days ago, whatever that is, I want you to put in the comments marketing DAO, Drip Marketing DAO, and I'm going to do a random drip airdrop of like freaking 50 drip, and I'll decide if it's going to be 5 people or something like that. So head over to Drip to Wealth YouTube channel, put in the comments of the most recent video, Drip Marketing DAO, and I'm going to airdrop 50 drip. And
Oh,
depending on
damn.
the response, I may do more. That's how generous I'm feeling.
Damn. Oh, also, late night lit on Friday. I'm definitely going to be on there too. So if you have more questions, because the only downside I ever find to Twitter is people that don't want to speak still can't write it out. So
Right on. I love it. All right, everyone, we're going to give you back your time on Wednesday. I hope you guys found this very insightful. You learned something new tonight. Keep in mind, we're here every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, my name is Kryptonite, aka Drip to Wealth. In the meantime, I wish you guys peace and prosperity. Until then, stay hydrated. We out. All right, let's go through my roll call. Trap, NYC, Lady Mania. Let's see who else we got. We got Khaled. Welcome, brother. Good to see you back. We got Nasty. Welcome. What else we got? We got Anchor. I see you. DG, my guy. Crypto Bag, Trav. Respect. Papa Nugs. Lavelle. Jax. Westside Ian. Nino Brown. 9-0. My guy. Welcome. Moonshot. Love the video this morning, brother. You smashed it. Easy Crypto 91. Susie. She's probably got more gardens than anyone. Welcome to the call. Vincent Vega. Thank you for hanging out. Crypto Wizard. Respect. What else we got on here? Oh, this is a new person. Crypto Clumpy. No, Crypto Clumpy. Right on. Thank you. Hot Doge Token. I believe this is the first time you've been on the call. Welcome, Crypto Clumpy. What else we got? This is Calvin. I'm just going to say that. Calvin, let each day count. I love that message. DeFi Maxi, welcome. Perlis Crypto Cafe, Lady of the Faucet, representing the brand today. Y'all showed out. Love it. DeFi Junkie, passive income through crypto investing. That's my mission too, my friend. Love it. AJ, Crypto Explorer, welcome. Also part of CryptoZoa. So am I, my friend. Patine 9. I'm going to airdrop you, Patine 9. Go to my most recent video. Leave your wallet address. Wayne Parker, welcome to the call.